This is a recording for Saturday, September 3rd, 2022 for the Charles E. Smith Life Communities. Parsha this morning will be Shoftim. We'll start as always in the Slim Shalom prayer book for Shabbat, page 61, middle of the page. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. Page 63, we'll do the top paragraph, thanking God for our bodily functions. 63. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe and fashioning the human body in wisdom, creating openings, arteries, glands, and organs, marvelous in structure, intricate in design. Should but one of them fail to function by being blocked or opened, it will be impossible to exist. Praised are you, Adonai, healer of all flesh, sustaining our bodies in wondrous ways. 65, thanking God for being able to get up in the morning and function. 65 for Birkot HaShachar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher natan lasech v'bina lavchi ben yom u'ben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, shasani b'tzamo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, shasani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, shasani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, malbi sharomim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, zokef kehufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, rakaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, she'asa li kol tzorki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, ha'mechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, ozei Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, Otei Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, hanotein laya'ef koach. Utenen haya b'chol yom, l'cheinu l'chesed al rachamim. V'nech v'nei karinu v'tivulenu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai, gomel chasadim tovim, li'amo Yisrael. It's the month of Elul now, since last Sunday. We shall go to Psalm 27, which is found on page 80. We will do the first four stanzas in the English of Psalm 27, the Psalm for the penitential season. Adonai is my light and my help. Whom shall I fear? Adonai is the strength of my life. Whom shall I dread? When evildoers draw near to slander me, when foes threaten, they stumble and fall. The armies be arrayed against me, I have no fear. The war threaten, I shall remain steadfast in my faith. One thing I ask of Adonai, for this I yearn, to dwell in the house of Adonai all the days of my life, behold God's beauty, to pray in God's sanctuary, hiding in God's shrine, safe from peril. God will shelter me beyond the reach of disaster and raise my head high above my enemies. Lulehem anti lirot betuv Adonai beretz chaim, kaveh el Adonai chazak v'yametz libecha, v'kaveh el Adonai. Flip ahead to page 83 in our abbreviated introductory service. Baruch Shamar, praised is the one who spoke and the world was. Baruch Shamar v'yah olam baruch hu, Baruch oseh bereshit, Baruch omer v'yoseh, Baruch gozer u'mekayim, Baruch mirachem al haaretz, Baruch mirachem al habriot, Baruch mishalem sachar tov l'reyav, Baruch alad v'kayam lanetzach, Baruch podeh u'matzil, Baruch Shemo. Yachichei olamim, melech meshubach umforadei shemo hagadol. Baruch ata Adonai, melech mulal vatishpachot. Big skip now to page 96. We'll continue with Ashrei, the acrostic praising God for all of God's goodness to us. 96, top of 97. Ashrei Yoshvei Vetecha Od Yalelucha Selah. Tehillat Adonai Yidaber Pi Vivarech Kol Basar Shem Kodsho La'olam Va'ed V'anachnu Nevarech Yah Me'ata V'ad Olam. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We'll stay on 97 in the English side. End of Psalm 146. Last four stanzas on page 97 in the English. God keeps faith forever, brings justice to the oppressed, and provides food for the hungry. Adonai frees the bound. Adonai gives sight to the blind. Adonai raises those bowed down and loves the just. Adonai protects the stranger, supports the orphan and widow, but frustrates the designs of the wicked. Adonai shall reign through all generations. Your God, Zion, shall reign forever. Hallelujah. Yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohayach Tzion ledor v'dor. Hallelujah. Next skip to page 100, middle of the page. We have Psalm 150, praising God with music, praising God even with our breath. Middle of page 100. Hallelujah, 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 el v'kodsho, hallelujah, hallelujah, birkia uzo, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, v'gevuratav. Hallelujah, hallelujah, karov good low. Hallelujah, 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 b'tei kashofar. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, b'nei v'ela v'chinor. Hallelujah, 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 b'tov u'machol. Hallelujah, hallelujah, b'minim v'yugav. Hallelujah, 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 v'tzil tzalei shama. Hallelujah, hallelujah, v'tzil tzalei trua. Kol haneshama tehallel, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol haneshama tehallel, hallelujah. Kol haneshama tehallel, hallelujah. On to page 105, our last skip. On Shabbat, the Chazan begins in the middle of 105 with Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranu tzadikim baranai la'yesharim navatila v'fi yesharim titalal ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. פרידה שבחה מכין בכל דור ודור, שכן חוות כל היצורים, לפניך נא אלוהינו, אלוהי אבותינו, להודות להלל לשבח, לפועל רומם להדר לברך לעלה ולקלס, על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך, 106, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, כי לך נענה אלוהינו, אלוהי אבותינו, שיר ושבחה, הלל וזמרה, עוז וממשלה, נצח גדולה וגבורה, תהילה ותפארת קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודות, אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אל חי העולמים. Lacking minion, we skip to line 3 on 107. Baruch atah melech olam yotzer uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Take the next 5.5 lines in the middle of 107 in the English. All creatures praise you, all declare there is none holy like Adonai. All exalt you, creator of all, God who daily opens the gates of heavens, the casements of the eastern sky, bringing forth the sun from its dwelling place, the moon from its abode, illumining the whole world and its inhabitants, who you created with mercy. Efes piltecha goleinu limot HaMashiach, v'ein melech HaMoshiachenu, l'tchiat HaMetim. 108 for El Adon, mystical praise of God's creative flow. El Adon ala kol ha'ma'asim baruch, umvarach b'fi kol neshama, kolo v'tuvo malei olam, da'at u'tfuna so v'imoto, hamid ga'el chayot ha'kodesh, v'nedor b'chavod al ha'merkava, zechut u'mishor lifnei chiso, chesed v'rachamim lifnei chavodo, tovim me'orot shebara Eloheinu, yitzaram v'da'at b'vina u'paskel, koach u'gvura natan bahem, liot moshlim b'kerev tevel, maleim zivam u'fikim noga, zivam b'chol ha'olam, Samechim b'tzeitam b'sasim b'voam, osim b'ema retzon konam, pe'er v'chavod, notnim lishmo tzala, verina lezecher malchuto, kara lashemesh v'yizrach ora'a, v'hitin tzurat halavana, shevach notnim lo, Kolat Sivamaram Tiferet Ugidula Serafim V'Ofanim V'Chayot HaKodesh. 109 and on to 110. Leila Sheshva Mikola Ma'asim. Page 110, bottom of the top paragraph. V'chulam porchim et piem b'kedushav Torah, v'shiro v'zimra, u'mvarachim u'meshabachim u'mfarim, Umaritzim umakdishim umamlichim et shema el hamelech hagadol hagibor v'norah kadoshu v'chulam mekablim alehem al malchut shamayim ze mizeh v'nonim reshut ze lazeh lakdish liotzram benachat ruach v'safa v'rura v'nima kedosha kulam ki echad Onim v'omrim be'yira Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai tzivot Meloch ha'aretz kivodo Bofanim v'chayot ha'kodesh Berash gadol Mitnasim liumat serafim Liumatam mishabachim v'omrim Baruch kivod Adonai mimekamo La'el baruch nimot yiten lamelech el chai v'kayam. Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir V'nizkech ulanu mehera le'oro Mehera le'oro, Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer ha'me'orot. 111, we'll do the top paragraph of the God's love for us blessing in the English. Deep is your love for us, Adonai our God, boundless your tender compassion. Avinu Malkeinu, you taught our ancestors life-giving laws. They trusted in you. For their sake, graciously teach us. Our Maker, merciful provider, show us mercy, grant us discernment and understanding. And will we study your Torah, heed its words, teach its precepts, follow its instruction, lovingly fulfilling all its teachings. And in the Hebrew on 111. Bavinu l'shalom me'aba kanfo ta'aretz v'tolichenu kami'el li'artzenu ki el po yeshuat ata ובנבחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה, ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל, באהבה. 112 for Sheman v'ahavta. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavcha, v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, Hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha b'derech, u'v'shochbecha v'kumecha, u'kshartam lot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, Uvisharecha. To use silently the second and third paragraphs of the Shema, bottom of 112 and top of 113. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Take the next four stanzas in the middle of 113 in the English. Your teaching is true and enduring. Your words are established forever. Awesome and revered are they, unceasingly right. Well ordered are they, always acceptable. Their eloquent, majestic, and pleasant, our precious, everlasting legacy. True it is that eternal God is our sovereign. The rock of Jacob is our protecting shield. Yotzreinu to Yeshuatenu, Podenu Matzilenu Me'alam Shemecha, Ein Elohim Zulatecha. 114. Ezrat Avotenu Atahu Me'olam. Tehilot Leil Yom Baruch Hu Mevarach. Moshe B'nai Yisrael Lecha Anu Shira. B'simcha Rabba V'yamru Chulam. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot oseh pele. Shira chadasha shibechu geulim l'shimcha sefatayam. Yachad kulam hodu behim lechu v'yameru Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Sur Yisrael Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael Ufedechinu mecha Yehuda be'Yisrael. Go aleinu Adonai tzivot shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch atah Adonai Gala Yisrael. We're on 115, ready to begin chanting the first three benedictions of the Amidah, Avot, Gvurot, and Kedusha. 115a. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot, U'Mevi Goel Livnei V'Neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Meitim Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechaye Meitim B'Rachamim Rabim. Somech noflim verofei cholim umatir asurim umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha balagivurot umidom melach melech meimit umechayev Umatzmeach Yeshua, V'neman Nata Lachayot Meitim, Baruch Ata Adonai, Mechaye HaMeitim, Ata Kadosh, V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yalu Chasela, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. To you silent with your own personal meditations, with the words of the Amidah 117 through 120. Ose shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'ala kol Yisrael. Ve'imru imru. Amen. Ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. As indicated at the beginning, our Torah portion today is Shoftim in the Eitz Chaim Chumash. It's on page 1088. In any Chumash, it is Deuteronomy chapter 16, beginning at verse 18. We're reading the first two weekday aliyot. The first one is really short. The second one's pretty long. And we deal here with justice. As we read early on in the Torah portion, justice shall you pursue. In every aspect, we quest for human justice to parallel the divine justice that exists. And in this parsha, justice covers not doing idolatry, but also the ancient system of check and balances between the king and the priest and the prophet to provide leadership to the people, and a variety of other laws of environmental justice, political justice, and economic justice. So, Parshat Shoftim 1088, or Deuteronomy 16:18. Shoftim v'shotrim, titen lecha b'chol sharecha asher Adonai Elohecha noten lecha lishpatecha, v'shaftu et am nishpat tzedek, lo tateh mishpat, lo takir panim, lo tikach shochad, ki hashochad evat ereinei chachamim, v'salef divrei tzadikim, tzedek tzedek tirdof, l'man tichye v'yarashta et haaretz asher Elohecha noten lach, Lo tita lecha shera kol eitz eitzel, mizbach anoel hecha asher taseh lach, v'lo takim lecha matzeba asher sanei Adonai Elohecha, lo tizbach l'Adonai Elohecha shor vaseh asher yiyeh v'omum kol devara, ki toavat Elohecha hu, ki matzeh b'kirbecha b'chad sharecha, sher Elohecha noten lach ish o isha, Sheyaseh tara ben Elohecha labor brito. Vayelech vayavod Elohim acherim ishtachu lahem v'lashemesh oli areach o lechol tzava shamayim asher lo tziviti v'gad lecha v'shamata v'darash taiteh v'nei emet nachon hadavar nesta toiva hazot b'Yisrael v'tzeta et ha'ish hahu az haisha hahi asher asu Et haravar hara hazeh el sharecha et haish o et haisha uskaltam ba'avanim v'metu al pi shnayim edim o shlosha edim yumatame lo yamud al pi ed echad yad ha'edim tiyevol v'rishona lahamito liad kolam ha'achrona liad tara mikirbecha ki yipalei mimcha davar la mishpat ben dam ledam u'ben din ledim Uvein nega lenega divrei rivot bisharecha v'kamta v'alita el hamakom asher yivchan Elohecha bo uvata el hakohanim haleviim v'el hashofet asher yeh b'yamim ahem v'darashte v'yidu lecha et devar mishpat v'asita al pi hadavar asher yagidu lecha min hamakom hahu asher yivchar Adonai v'shamarta laso kechol Asher Yorucha. So the Haftarah for this morning is from Isaiah 51 and 52. We're in the cycle. This is the fourth of the seven Haftarot of consolation. Starts now as we're going into the middle of the cycle. I am God who comforts you. What ails you that you fear? Man who must die. Mortals are like grass. But arouse yourself, Jerusalem. Arise. God is there as a presence to rebuke Israel for their sins, but to awaken Zion when they have repented to return to Jerusalem. So we will do the last 5 verses of the Haftarah. It's Isaiah chapter 52, verses 7 through 12. In Eitz Chaim, it's 1110, Isaiah 52:7. Manavu al harim raglei mevaser mashmiya shalom mevaser tov mashmiya Yeshua omer litzion malach Elohayich kol tzofayich nasu kol yachdav yiranenu ki ayin va'ayin yiru b'shuv Adonai Tzion Pitzchu ranenu yachdav chorvot Yerushalayim Ki nicham Adonai amo ga'al Yerushalayim chasach Adonai etzro akodsho Leinei kol Yisrael v'ra'u kol avsei aretz et Yeshuat Eloheinu Suru, suru, tu misham tame al tiga'u, tu mitocha hibaru no se, kale Adonai, kilo v'chipazon teitseu, uvimnusa lo yital teilechum, ki holech lifnechem Adonai, uma'asivchem Elohei Yisrael. Misha Berach now for those who are sick, praying for God's power of healing, hopefully also recovery. We'll do Braune-Friedman, stanza 1, take names, then stanza 2. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Names of those who need God's blessing of healing. Second stanza. Misha berach imotenu Mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Devar Torah, based on something from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, at least the idea. Our portion again is Shoftim, dealing with various aspects of justice. We had early on, and we read this morning in the Torah portion, the story of a man or a woman who practiced idolatry and is brought to trial and is found guilty and killed. We also have later in this portion the Ir Nidachat, a city that has gone astray into idolatry. Investigation, due process is executed, and then they are put to the sword. Later in the book of Deuteronomy, a couple of parshiot from now, in chapter 20, the story of Ben Sorer Moreh, the delinquent child who is warned, and parents bring him up finally on charges of delinquency. And what happens? The child is stoned to death. So the rabbis about the Ir Nidachat and about the Ben Sorer say never was and never will be. These are not legal injunctions. They are rather educational teachings of the Torah to learn something different about them. In contrast to that, we have the law of Bal Tashchit in this Torah portion, where you're attacking a city, and the Torah says, yes, you can cut down trees for siege engines, but you may not cut down the trees that bear fruit, because our trees, human beings, that you can fight against them. If you destroy the infrastructure of the environment of a city and take away all the food, the trees that are around, then the city will become unlivable. So the rabbis say, though, that Bal Tashchit not only applies to trees when you're fighting a war, but to shattering vessels, to tearing up clothing, to breaking down buildings, to destroying wells, and to food in general. You cannot waste things that need to be part of the Earth's cycle. We have an environmental responsibility that flows from this commandment in our parsha this morning. So it's fascinating that sometimes the rabbis narrow the scope of a commandment, like the city that goes to idolatry, never was, never will be. And other times they broaden it. It's not just talking about trees, it's talking about wasting anything that is needed to sustain your well-being on this planet. So we have educational commandments. An idolatrous city could corrupt other cities, and therefore the commandment is to be aware when his people are going astray and to try to do something about it within the law. And we have a rebellious child. In and of itself, children can be rebellious, but a true delinquent who steals will then probably go to violence and possibly even to go to murder. This is the warning that's in the Torah portion of things that never were and never will be, but to work, to educate, to be self-aware, and to take every precaution against evil on the slippery slope. And yet, when it comes to sustainability, the Torah is always expanding, or the rabbis certainly are always expanding what the Torah says. Shabbat, the sabbatical year, the Jubilee year, are instances of you must let the earth rest so it can rejuvenate, so it can be self-sustaining. If you destroy your environment, you destroy your country, you destroy your land, you destroy your ability to live there, you will wind up in exile. And if you repeat that process often enough, you will destroy the world. So we're commanded to protect and nurture the gift of this earth. It goes back to the story of the Garden of Eden. We are put on the earth, la'avda u'lashamra, to serve the earth, avodah, u'lishmor, and to guard, to protect, to nurture the world. Torah is teaching us in this instance that we are guests in a wonderful, amazing planet. We have, therefore, a sacred responsibility to care for our environment. Even if we live in assisted living and independent living, or even a nursing home, being aware and being careful with our garbage, being aware and being careful not to waste food, are part of our sacred responsibility to pass on the amazing blessing and bounty of our planet so that our children, our grandchildren, of all our posterity can enjoy it going forward into the future. For our musical notation today, instead of reading the prayer for the state of Israel on 149 in the prayer book, we shall play from the Zamir Chorale from 5 years ago, the Kid Zamir or choir chanting prayer for the state of Israel. Beautiful prayer for Israel. We're including prayers of the service then. Next up is 182. We're ready for Ein Keloheinu 182. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Michemoshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shiktiru, Avotenu, Lefanecha et Ketoret Hasamim. Next up in a moment, if I get a little drink for that glog in my throat, is Aleinu 183. 183. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol latet gedula liotzer bereshit shelo asanu kagoye haratzot velo samanu kamishbachot adama shelo samach elkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim Lifnei melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Skip down to the next to last line. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad ushemo Ushemo Echad. Warner's Kaddish Shemon will be next on 184 this week in the Charles E. Smith Life Communities. Remember the yard sites of Ida Siegel, Harry Dick, Rachel Witt, Morris Glass, Esther Fox, Charles Cohen, Morris Rosen, Mark Blacker, Maggie Cooper, Anna Jacobson, Anna Ehrlich, Azer Landsman, Harry Cherner, Bertha Adler, Anna Josowitz, Joseph Sokolsky, Fanny Hertzberg, Sarah Poland, Mary Schleider, Suzanne Folds, Meyer Desoff, Aaron Kammerman, Max Kay, Samuel Schneider, Israel Smith, Daniel Reichgott, Lena Cohen, and Harry Friedman. But anyone in mourning observing your time to join now in Kaddish Yatom without line 4 on page 184. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba v'yalma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayed v'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'yemru amen. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemeda kudasha b'rechu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran b'olma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Moment will be on 187 for Adon Olam. Hope you like the background for my davening today instead of my study. We have the Wailing Wall. I'm actually still in my study. It's still the same. It hasn't changed in the last 26 years, pretty much. But it's nice having something a little bit different, I hope. Maybe you felt like you were davening at the wall this morning. 187 for Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher molach b'terem hakol yitzir nivra li'et na'asa v'cheptzo kol azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hove v'hu yihya V'tif ara v'hu echad v'ein sheni lahamshilo lehachbira v'li reshit v'li tachlit v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra v'hu eili v'chai goali v'tzor chevli b'yetzara v'hu nisi umanosli minat kosi V'yomekra b'yado Avkid ruchi, B'eit ishan v'ya'ira, v'imruchi, Giviati, Adonai li below ira. Good morning, good Shabbos. Enjoy a good Labor Day weekend this afternoon after Shabbat. Have a Shavua Tov, a good Vach. And for right now, Shabbat Shalom.